Hiya folks, Bill Malone here. I'm the relationship guy, and today we're going to continue to talk about couples, but we're going to focus specifically on couples and couples in fighting. And you know, and I know, if you've been in any serious relationship, that we are going to get into some trouble and that we're going to get into some fights. Some of these fights actually can get really very serious. And ultimately, the fights, if go prolonged for a long period of time, the couple and the marriage can really end in divorce. Now, we know in the United States alone that first-time marriages has a 53% divorce rate. That means more than half of first-time marriages end in divorce. Now, that's some serious numbers. A lot of that, as a marriage counselor, I think has a lot to do with the fact that we do not know how to get along. We know how to fight with each other, but we don't know how to get along. Now, a case in point. A while back, there was a fellow who did a study looking at, from the point at the beginning of time when man first walked on the planet until present, the question was asked, how many days, weeks, months, decades has there been peace on the planet? Surprisingly, the fellow's research demonstrated and came up with the fact that there are only 264 days of all this time, for decades and decades, that there wasn't anybody fighting with anybody. That says we seriously have some issues with the ability to get along with one another, which therefore does make marriages and relationships a challenge. Now, biology also has a lot to play in making marriages and relationships difficult. Now, you might ask, what does biology have to do with that? Well, the first thing it has to do with is that we are all, as human beings, we are all hardwired for the flight or fight response. Back to caveman days, the rule of thumb was this: if it was bigger than you, run like heck. If it was smaller than you, get your spear and kill it and eat it. Well, we've taken the flight or fight response back to the present. We're still hardwired. So in our relationship, when our spouse or a significant other makes some criticism or makes some statement, we can perceive that as an attack. When we perceive that as an attack, our first response is either going to be to flee or to fight back. And a lot of times it's to fight back. And when we fight back, lo and behold, here we go, the fight's on. You say this, I say that. Now we're out to win rather than to solve any problems. Now, what I want to suggest is that we pay attention to biology and we recognize we are no longer in caveman time. Supposedly, we are in civilized time, where we are civilized, educated people, where we can use our brains to think rather than simply react. So one way to avoid a lot of fighting is to pay attention and to process the information, realizing that this person is not going to attack us, but rather this person is someone we love and we care about, and that they're having an issue. So we can pay attention to they have a need that's not being met. For example, years ago, my wife came to me in the wintertime and said, it would be nice to go to the Cincinnati Zoo and see the flower show in the spring. And I said, that could be okay. And not realizing how serious she was, but spring came and spring went, and summer came and half the summer went, and a buddy of mine said, Bill, why don't you come with me? We go do this event. And my wife said to me, honey, dear, how come you get to do what you want to do and I don't get to do what I want to do? Well, again, we could take the defensive position and I could perceive that as an attack, and my response then would have been, well, you get to do what you want. I don't ever get to do what I want, and now the race is on. Well, having some education on relationships, I decided that's probably not the best thing to do. What I decided is to find out what is it that she is not fulfilled with. What need was not met? And I said, honey, what is it that you're not getting? What is it that you wanted? And she said, I wanted to go to the flower show. at the Cincinnati Zoo. I said, well, I remember we had the conversation. I did not realize that that was important to you. I apologize for my not taking you seriously, and I'm going to take you seriously now and put it on the calendar. And next spring, we're going to go. And by George, that's exactly what it was. We did. It was fine and enjoyable. And no fight erupted because I was listening rather than reacting. So when my couples come to see me, one of the first things they tell me is we're fighting all the time. And of course, I tell them that's not very effective and they really should stop fighting. Regardless of what they're fighting about, I ask them, has fighting ever solved any problem? And they always tell me, no, it doesn't solve any problems. I said, then the first thing you really need to do, stop fighting, start listening, find out what need is not being fulfilled with this person, and then work towards finding a way to meet the need. That way you have a happy spouse, they're engaged and feeling closer to you, and we have worked the problem rather than simply running around calling each other names and making everybody miserable. So again, I'm strongly recommending that we stop fighting, we start listening, we problem solve, and we learn to negotiate and identify what it is that's not being met, and we work towards solving that. So if you like this blog and when you like to hear more, then please subscribe. Right down there on the left is that button that says subscribe. It'll let you know when my next blog's coming out. And if you'd like to hear about other articles that I have written over the years, you can see me on my website at www.canville.net/Malone. So I'm wishing you a happy relationship, a happy marriage, and come back and see me another time. Thanks so much.